Hey everyone, James Labrie from Dream Theater, and you're listening to or watching the podcast Talking into Infinity with JT and Brian. Enjoy this. These guys are extremely informative. I love their dialogue. I love their interpretation of the songs, who and what we are, what we were going after. They're very accurate in their interpretations and descriptions, and I just think this is a great show, and these guys are doing a stand-up stellar job. So once again, enjoy Talking into Infinity with JT and Brian.
What's up, guys? Welcome to another episode of Talking into Infinity, a Dream Theater-centric podcast. I am your host, John. We are live on Facebook, YouTube, talkingintoinfinity.com, the CMSnetwork.com, and the CMS Network Rumble page. We are live at those locations every other Thursday at 7:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. If you are watching on YouTube and have not done so already, please click the like button, click the subscribe button, and also hit the notification bell so that you are notified every time we go live. Without further ado, let me bring on my esteemed co-host, one of my very best friends, my New York City travel buddy. He is, of course, Mr. Brian Hendrickson. What's going on, man? How you been?
Dude, are you a popsicle like I am out here?
Oh, dude, I'm finally warming up, man. But I tell you, Monday and Tuesday, when it was single digits or less, I was dying, and I'm not a freeze baby at all.
Yeah,
like I absolutely don't. I don't get cold. I don't stay cold, and I absolutely could not warm up either of those days. It was goddamn miserable.
So the coldest we got real feel, according to our Google thing, was minus 18 with the wind chill. So
yeah,
and today it was 4, so that's a 27-degree difference, somewhere around there.
Every time I hear like people talking about the temperature and the wind chill, I think about the Lewis Black joke when he was like, yeah, these goddamn weather people, like, they say, oh, well, it's 15 degrees outside, but with the wind chill, it feels like -10. Well, then it's -10, asshole.
Yeah. I don't even know how that works, to be honest with you. Like, how could you even tell a difference between 10 below and 20 below and 30 below, and I don't know. It's just science and math and stuff.
It's just hotter or colder than shit. Excuse me. Like that's all there is to it. It just is. Look at Doug McCauley. Great to see you, man. He says -20 degrees Celsius here tonight. Oh.
Nice.
Doug, we're Americans, so we actually don't know Celsius.
I don't know what that is. Is that like minus 75 here or something?
Yeah, right. Oh my God. So Aaron, this is a little closer to home here. Aaron Taft says 10 degrees in the Chicago area. Well, if you want to warm up, Aaron, you know my take. Get some Al's Italian beef or some Gino's East and some deep dish pizza there, and there you go. Look at this. Okay, so Doug says it's -40. You don't go outside. Wow. Whew.
Yeah, my poor dog hasn't got a walk since I think Saturday. Yeah, there's no way, man. I won't take it. He goes out and does his business, and even he's like, he almost gets stuck in the snow too, in the ice. He comes out and he's like, it's crazy, dude.
Right. Well, all right. So let's yeah. Oh, there's Kale. Like I told you, dude. Brian, why is your mic so much louder than John's? It's clipping. Yep. Audio issues.
I don't know.
This is why you don't log on like 2 minutes before we go live, dude.
Usually you're way louder than me, so I don't know.
Yeah. No. This is you finally got your backdrop working correctly, and now your mic is jacked. Maybe it's that.
Let me turn it down again here. How's that?
Yeah, that's better.
All right.
So it could be worse. Could be like my brother. He gets all pissed off on my other show because he'll log on like less than a minute before showtime and his stuff is screwed up. And then he gets mad if I mention that we had problems or make fun of him as soon as we go live. He gets all kinds of butthurt. And it takes, and you know me well enough to know. Shut up, Kale. I can't turn up.
I mean, if I got mad anytime I worried about you making fun of me, I don't think we'd have a show.
Yeah.
And vice versa, right?
It's very, very, very bad. Very, very bad. Joe Gebhardt says, just got Systematic Chaos on vinyl this weekend. Very nice. Very nice. Unfortunately, for the purposes of this show, Joe, you weren't supposed to do that. You're not allowed to buy that. So,
That's right.
I have a super quick story here. So, yeah. Oh, there's Doug. Doug, I was waiting for it. He
Oh
says,
boy.
John's hair has entered the son of King Edward II length. Yeah, I figured it was time to actually pull, stop putting the hat on, and
Who agreed to that decision? I don't know. Let's revisit that maybe.
It's definitely getting there, man. It's definitely getting there. So, yeah. So, quick story about that, and then we obviously have something to talk about before tonight's topic. But yeah, so everybody knows. Speaking of everybody knows Giovanni Palaia. What's up, man? Good to see you. He says, "Hi, folks. Good to see you." Yeah. So everybody knows Falling Into Infinity is my favorite record. I bought the 2 Lost Not Forgotten releases on vinyl, so the demos and the making of, but I don't have actual Falling Into Infinity on vinyl. I keep looking for a like a copy of it that's not going to cost me an arm and a leg, and I haven't found it yet. So there is in Lima, where the band plays, where my wife is from, there is a record resale shop called Gromy's, and it's famous. It's been there forever. They have everything. It is an amazing store. Well, last weekend or the weekend before, they had a fire, and a bunch of stuff was damaged, destroyed, whatever. And so the whole community's coming together for it and stuff. And Steph and I were talking about it, Steph, my wife, and I looked Gromy's up on Facebook, and I was like, oh, I'm not following them. Shit, how's that possible? So I followed them, and I scrolled down, and I was looking at some pictures, seeing how the fire was, and I scrolled further before the fire and saw a few pictures of inventory. And literally the week before the fire, there is a picture of Images and Words, Awake, Falling Into Infinity, and Scenes from a Memory, the 2-disc vinyl clear edition in the store, and they just had a fire, and I don't know if it's there anymore. So I find it. I'm always in fucking Lima, and now I might not be able to get it anyway, man. Oh God, I was like, son of a bitch. So that's my little pain in the ass. But before we get to tonight's topic, I think we definitely should talk for a minute about number 1, our next show, which is going to be on Friday, February 7th, not Thursday, February 6th. So we are going to be doing 7:30 p.m. on Parasomnia release day. And as we did with the first single, we are opening up the show to you guys. So we're going to be putting the link to the camera into the right up on the screen for you guys. I was about to say into the chat. That doesn't do anybody any good. But yeah, we're going to put the link to join the show on the screen so you guys can jump on and give us your immediate reactions to Parasomnia. So that'll be on Friday, February 7th, release day. For those of you going to the Philadelphia show, I wish I was, but I'm not. Obviously, you won't be able to make it. Hopefully, you like the record. That being said, obviously, yesterday we did have a single drop, and that being Midnight Messiah. I personally think it's great. I really enjoy it. A couple of my Dream Theater buddies said it might be a little too thrash metal-y for them. I've heard some people say that there's a lot of As I Am in it. I did notice that a little bit in the verses when I first listened to it. I think it's a great tune. I think it's cool. I love like the unison keyboard and guitar solo, that tapping thing near the end of the song. Like, I think that's amazing. So, Brian, you, however, said that you have a few issues with the song. So why don't you give your thoughts real quick on what you are not really digging about the new Dream Theater single?
I like the intro, and I do like the solo, and it's real hard to determine what is the keyboard and what is guitar on that part, which is kind of cool in a way. Yeah. I don't like the guitar tone on the real chuggy part. I don't know. There's something a little weird on it. I can't quite pinpoint it. Now, I only listened to it like twice, so give it time to grow on me. But I love James' vocal. I like the dark kind of style he's singing in. But, enough about the single. We have somebody on here who's heard the entire album already.
Yeah, 2 people.
Well, one that I know of for sure.
Yeah,
Because he blasted it all over the internet, and he's a professional Dream Theater reviewer now.
Yes. So our buddy Cale McLeish wrote a review of the album for Lots of Music. So Cale's actually heard it, and Cale is a big fan. He thinks that Dream Theater fans are going to love it. I'm excited to hear it. Actually, I can't even lie. I've heard it. I can't say where I got it. It's not from Cale, but of course we have sources that are friends of ours. This one was kind of anonymously sent to us, which was pretty cool. Yeah, it's pretty good. It's pretty damn good. Immediate reaction, I will say, I think there's going to be some of those morons on the Facebook groups and stuff like that complaining that Portnoy isn't doing anything original. He's just rehashing his standard Portnoy fills. I can hear that in some spots. Personally, I love it. I think it's got a really it definitely does kind of sound like a continuation from Black Clouds, but if you kind of combined it with some of the melodic choices with View from the Top of the World, but if you made it dark and weird. So yeah, Giovanni Palaya, you're a bad liar, John. I know, Giovanni, like I couldn't, I was like, damn it, like I at least gotta, I can't say where I got it, can't do a deep dive. I can just say briefly that I enjoyed it.
I was trying to leave you out of it. I was just going to mention, as Doug called him, Carl, because like Doug said, if Carl says it's good, it's good.
Yeah, no, it's Carl.
That's what he called him.
That's right. There we go. Doug McCall. If Carl says it's good, it's good. Well, Carl is a fan. So, yeah. So I think you guys are gonna dig it. I really do. It was, yeah, I enjoyed it. Cale, like I said, he's got his review up. Cale,
well, how did Cale get it? Let's have Cale tell the story. Do we know what? Do you know the story or no? I don't know it.
He was approached by this Lots of Music.
Really?
To do an album review, and he got the record. So
nice.
Yeah. No, yeah. Yeah, Cale, I did not get the record from Cale. So that is yeah. Yeah, Chastity Crawley, great to see you. She says, Cale is fancy. He knows people. Nice.
Yeah, we do a Dream Theater podcast, and they wouldn't even give us the record.
I know. Well, Cale's famous over there, man.
That's true.
So, yeah. So, all right. So, real quick. So, what are you not enjoying about Midnight Messiah? What are your issues with the song?
I thought we just covered this.
No.
Are you asking me or the audience?
Yeah, I'm
in
asking
general?
you because you went and talked about Cale listening to the record. You never gave your thoughts.
The main chugging guitar part, I don't know. There's something weird in the guitar sound. It's not. I don't think it's up to normal Dream Theater standards, and it's only that one. It's only that driving, chugging, muted palm chugging part. I don't know. I got to listen to it more.
I will say.
Do you know which part I'm talking about?
Yeah, for sure.
Okay.
Do
you agree somewhat or no?
Well, okay. I think the production is great. I will say when I backed it up against some other recordings, it's not as the rhythm tones are not as biting, I think would be the word I would use. So that being said, I still think it sounds great. I think you can definitely hear the bass for a change. Well, I can't say for a change because that makes it sound like you never can. I don't think that's the case like some people do, but I think the bass is more easily heard on this record. And it's just Cale, Brian doesn't like it.
I didn't say that.
But yeah, I mean, I don't have a problem with it. I mean, honestly, I think I think it's cool. I really liked it. It's kind of I mean, I do hear the as I amishness in the verses, I suppose. Yeah. But I dig it. I like the fact that it's kind of like a straight ahead metal banger type of a song. I think it fits in nicely on the record and provides a little bit of kind of the metallic element to it. Even though the rest of the record is pretty damn heavy. This one's just pretty much straight ahead, like, horns in the air, let's go type of thing. So,
well, I also kind of don't like the idea if it's a concept album. I don't know. I would prefer to just wait, just only give me like 2 songs and then, so that way I can get it all kind of in context. You know what I mean?
It is kind of shitty how, like, in this like new era of like things leaking and everything, we're getting like, God, what a good like 30% of albums, if not 40% of albums.
Oh yeah, some bands do like four of them already.
Yeah, before it even comes out. Like, I don't know. I'm with you. I think for me, I'll be honest. I want one single. Just give me one. Give me like a little taste, and then I can listen to the rest of the album. I know you're not a fan of, Van Halen, but if I remember when they did A Different Kind of Truth, it was Tattoo for sure. And then maybe She's the Woman, but if it was only those 2. So you still had like 10 songs that were new to your ears and stuff.
Unfortunately, yeah.
Oh, shut up. But yeah, I mean, but this one you've got 3 out of 10, so you're looking at like, a third of the album already, which is, and granted the songs are long, so that's, not such a big deal, but I don't really mind, but I would prefer it, back the way it was when there's only like a single song released or something. So, well,
I got to listen to it in my car and on headphones too. This is just like while I'm working on my phone, which I've long a proponent of not doing when you're trying to discover bands or really intently listen to anything music wise. I think it's a horrible way of doing it. So, full disclosure on my part.
Oh, hey, but I mean, we all listen to it a different way, dude. I mean, right. I don't blame you. Like, I want to hear it clearly the first time as well. When I got it, I mean, I was down here last weekend. It was like I waited for my wife to go to sleep, and then I came down to the man cave, and I had it in headphones on my computer, and all I did was pull the album art up on my screen, and then I turned all the other lights off. So it was like pitch black except for the album cover, and I just let it play. And it was such a cool way to experience it because, it's about, night terrors and nightmares and things in the dark. And it was like I'm sitting there in the dark with this like scary ass album cover, listening to this like creepy weird record, and it was so cool, man. It was so cool. So,
I should have done that last night because we just watched Insidious because we're doing this Insidious marathon because we're going to go see this thing that's downtown at Playhouse Square. I'll have to tell you about it later, but it's some kind of interactive thing involved in the movie. But
anyway. Chris Aiken tuned in. Good to see you, brother. Thanks for tuning in. He says, as a non-fan, 7 out of 10. That's actually a high ranking for Aiken on a Dream Theater record. He said, it's okay. That last song is far, far, far too much for me to take in. Aiken is not a fan of the Epics. So, before we get too far into it, because we're not supposed to get too far into it, why don't we jump into tonight's topic? Real quick, Doug McCauley does have a question. I want to ask this before we get going, just because this is a good thing. Doug wants to know, anyone donating to the wildfires to win John Mayung's bass? I have not yet, Doug, but I plan on doing so. So that's actually pretty cool that he's doing that. So those fires are ridiculous. It was, died down, and all of a sudden there's like a new one or something, and Jeff Scott Soda was like, oh, I got to keep an eye on that. So, oh, man. So anyways, donate to the wildfires to win John Mayung's bass. We should all do that. All right. So tonight's topic, we are doing another edition of our shows where it is a year that a Dream Theater record's coming out, and you're not allowed to buy the Dream Theater record. So we were supposed to pick 8 records, and Brian, you said you could only find 6.
Yeah, there was some misinformation on one album. It really ticked me off, but
okay.
Thank God I realized later that it was because I guess I would have looked dumb because it was a reissue of it too. Yeah, this was a tough year for me. I mean, I don't know. Looking back, there was not a lot of stuff I bought actually. That's for damn sure. But stuff I discovered later, obviously, even pretty recent. But yeah, I still got 6. I think of my 6, 5 are really, really good. One you'll probably be like, eh. Well, 2 one for sure you'll hate. The other you'll probably be like. But I do want to set our scene real quick. 2007. We like to do the movies real quick. 2007 movies. I don't know that it was a great year. No Country for Old Men. What's your thoughts on that?
Amazing movie.
That was great.
Oh my God, that movie. So, dude, look, all you need to know if you haven't seen No Country for Old Men, the guy's main weapon is a shotgun with a silencer on it. That's all that fucking matters. Hate whatever you want about that movie if you do, but you cannot deny that a shotgun with a silencer is one of the most badass things you've ever seen.
That is good. There's a couple good ones. Into the Wild, that was pretty good. Did you see that?
No.
That was Emil Hirsch on the True Story, where the guy basically lives on the grid, like completely out in the middle of nowhere by himself, and like he literally goes and works at Burger King like 3 months out of the year to be able to live in this bus and just like live by himself. And then you got to go see it, but at some point he like eats something poisonous and ends up dying because he's out there by himself, and he realizes that after he ate it. It's a great movie, but it's messed up. We won a bunch of awards too. Simpsons movie, that was a great movie.
Oh, that movie was amazing.
Yeah. One of my all-time favorites, comedy, Superbad. Love that.
Oh, dude, that is probably, I think it's in my top 3, 5 at most funniest movies I've ever seen.
Yeah.
I actually almost put that soundtrack on my list because I love that movie so much.
Oh, really? I didn't even think about that. That's not a bad idea.
No, it's so great, dude.
Anyway. If you love No Country for Old Men, There Will Be Blood. I have a love for that one, probably the way you do No Country for Old Men. That is just a ridiculous acting job.
I actually haven't seen that one.
Oh man, you have to see it with Daniel Day-Lewis about the oil barons of like the 1800s. It is beyond messed up. Spider-Man 3, which I guess is a sequel to Spider-Man 2. Rob Zombie's first Halloween, which I thought was great. What about this one? Because you're a Stephen King fan. 1408.
Oh, that came out that year? That movie is fucked up, man. That is a really good movie.
Yeah, I liked that one too. And then some of the stinkers, Norbit. Like what happened? Remember when Eddie Murphy could make some funny comedies like in the 80s? What the hell happened to that dude? I don't know. Alien versus Predator, Requiem, the only alien movie I've ever actually turned off. It was that bad.
Yeah.
And then one of your favorites, Balls of Fury, but I think this is a different one than the one you told me about, but I'm not sure.
Shut up, man. It's such an ass.
Anyway, that's the scene for movies. And 2007, that was the Indians and the Red Sox in the playoffs. Weren't we like one game away from going to the World Series or something?
No, the 97 series where we were in the World Series and we were 1 out away from winning it.
Yeah, but 2007, I think we were up 3-1.
Oh, no, I'm thinking 97.
Yeah, we were up 3-1 against Boston, and the non-Cleveland people don't care, so.
Yeah, that was, we're not going to talk about that one, so.
Yeah.
All right, so, excuse me. So I think you and I, in fact, I can almost guarantee that there's at least one, if not 2, but maybe 3 commonalities between our lists. So I am going to start with my first one, since again we're gonna have commonalities.
All right.
So I'm going to start with a record that came out on. It is March 6th. I actually have 2 out. Actually, now that I'm looking at this, we might have 4 commonalities. A record that came out on March 6th, 2007. It's a band I've mentioned on previous episodes where we've done this, like you can't buy this album sort of thing. This is an album called Resurrection by a band from right here in Cleveland, Ohio called Chimera. I'm a big Chimera fan. I really enjoy most of their stuff. I can't say all of it, but I do like most of their stuff. As I've said on the show before, I was in the practice room next to them when they were writing The Impossibility of Reason. Went to high school with a few of the guys. You kind of can't go wrong with an album by Chimera until I think like the later stuff I wasn't really a big fan of when they started losing original members. But I mean, it's just a band you can put on the record. You know exactly what you're going to get. There's not really a shitload of experimentation. It's just heavy. And if you like the sound, you're pretty much going to like whatever you get when they put out a record. Again, I think, the first like 2/3 of their career was stronger, at least for me, but just a kick-ass record. Resurrection, the title track, Pleasure and Pain. Killing the Beast is awesome. Just a heavy, just slamming fucking kick-ass metal record with great production, as they always had. But yeah, so that's the first one on my list. I have Chimera Resurrection. So what do you have first on your list?
When I saw Chimera had an album out, I knew you were putting that on there because I know you're big fans of those guys, and that's totally fine. Interesting tidbit about this band, Exodus. They just got this guy back in the band again.
Yes,
Rob Dukes is back. Which when he first came into the band, I wasn't thrilled, and then when the albums came out, I actually really liked him. So I'm totally fine with him going back. I think Zetro is probably in his 60s now, and I think he's just done touring, is my understanding. Which you know,
I'm interested to hear that reasoning. I wonder if Aiken, if he's still tuned in, if he knows the real reason why they went away from Zetro again. That's interesting. But
yeah, anyway. I don't know if it's just that, but I mean, you just got to figure though at that age, okay, riding buses and stuff, and you know, Exodus. I mean, it's a decent band, but they're not getting massive tours, and you know, what are you doing the other 23 hours? You know, that you're out there on the road. That's more to it. But anyway, I got Exodus, the Atrocity Exhibition. Starts out with Call to Arms. Man, what a great metal march. You know, it's like you're going into the bowels of the pit, the riffs and the harmonies. Riot Act immediately grabs you. You know, you want to start swinging a sledgehammer or something. Funeral Hymn. I mean, there's nobody knows how to write and sustain these ridiculous riffs and tempos and melodies like Gary Holt. He's a pure master of that, and it just screams Exodus. A second, you know, you put this on till the end it goes. The title track, absolutely crushing. Some of these songs maybe going a couple minutes long, you know, but it's kind of unlike Maiden where the riffs go over and over and they milk them a lot. It's like, I don't know, man. They dig into you, they hook into you, you know, and you're still just like, you know, your chiropractor bill at the end of this album is going to be pretty hefty because all the headbanging you're going to do. Like, just so many great riffs and songs on this album. And, you know, I'm the last person that's going to go into a mosh pit, but I'll stand there and be banging my head and, you know, tapping my foot, I guess, because I'm not about to go out there and get killed, you know. Let's put it that way.
Yeah.
But, yeah, man, I love these Rob Dukes albums, and Atrocity Exhibition is if you love straight up thrash metal, you can't go wrong with that one.
I feel like Exodus is one of those bands where, you know, kind of like Chimera, you know exactly what you're going to get, and it's hard to say, oh, this record sucks. You know, I mean, even like a bad Exodus record is still pretty damn good, you know. And
oh yeah,
I mean, yeah, this is a really good album. I mean, you're right about Gary Holt. The guy is just he's so underrated, dude. I mean, like we know him, like metalheads, like everywhere know the guy, but like the average fan, like, you know, the kind of casual fan doesn't know who he is. It's like, you know, they'll know like Hetfield and stuff like that. They'll know Dave Mustaine, they'll the Slayer, Anthrax, Scott Ian, whatever. And, you know, they might, you know, the Exodus doesn't get brought up, like Testament doesn't get brought up. And, you know, Gary Holt has just written just so many ungodly good riffs and songs. It's like, oh my God. Okay, so Aiken definitely has some news about the Zetro thing. He says, Zetro is partly out because of age, but from what I'm hearing, this was sort of coming for a bit. Okay. I wondered about that. I mean, it's kind of weird. Like they were all, I don't know, happy with that guy from what I could tell, but apparently, who knows? That's one thing I will say about Exodus. Like, just hang on to a singer, for Christ's sakes. But so we got some good ones in the chat here. Aiken says 2007. Most of my favorites are real underground. Divine Heresy, Bleed the Fifth, Exodus, Chimera, Overkill, Immortalis, Devil Driver, Last Kind Words. All the rest was forgettable. Yeah, this was a difficult year. I mean, Doug McCauley says it. He's so glad Dream Theater released Systematic Chaos that year. What a crap year for releases. Yeah, for sure, man.
Somebody put Charm. Did you see the Charlie Dominici thing earlier?
I did.
Okay. All right.
I can't believe I forgot to put that in there because the Charlie Dominici trilogy was actually really good. Here's one which I'm quite sure you might want to bring up, but we'll see if something outdid it. But Giovanni Palaia says, since the new Tremonti album is so freaking awesome, let's start with Alter Bridge Blackbird. I do not have that on my list. I have a blind spot for Alter Bridge, and I think, excuse me, I think it's because I have never gotten over the fact that it's Creed with a different singer. When that first Alter Bridge record came out, oh, Creed, it's the Creed band, but this different singer. I was like, fuck this. I hate Creed. And so it's just I don't know. And I love Miles Kennedy. And Mark Tremonti is a great guitar player. A great singer too. I want to get over it. I just can't, man. I just can't. So all righty. So next on my list, this is one I wonder if we might have in common. This is by one of my all-time favorite bands. It was also released on March 6th of 2007. This was actually a weird era for this band. They had a different guitar player than their founding guitar player, one of the two founding guitar players. And I think this was by far the strongest record they put out with this guy, even though I can't really speak to this album track by track. It's kind of like one that I listen to in totality, a few songs here and there. They don't separate themselves a lot in my mind, but I like them. But and with this band, you just can't go wrong with them. Even again, this like a poor album is still got a lot of high spots. This is Alpha by Seven Dust. I just love Seven Dust. I mean, we've talked about them on the show before. They're absolutely kick-ass band. They're so criminally underrated. It's not even funny. This record was with Sonny Mayo, and if I'm not mistaken, I think it might have been the last one with Sonny Mayo, because he came in for, it was either 3 or 4 records, but when Clint Lowry left to do the Dark New Day thing, and the next album, it was good. The album called Next. I should make sure I'm phrasing that properly. It was good. I liked it. I think that one is a collection of high spots and low spots, whereas Alpha, I think, is consistent all the way through. I don't think it has quite the highs that Next has, but I think it also doesn't have any lows. So I just love the consistency of it. As soon as it came out, I was like, oh, this is great. Cause chapter 7 was, Aiken's talking about it in the chat. He says, not the worst album, but the worst Seven Dust album. Aiken, I will always disagree with that. If I'm picking a quote unquote worst Seven Dust record, I'm going with chapter 7 or Kill the Flaw. I'm just not a fan of, they're good to listen to, but far below Alpha for me. So I know that you are also a Seven Dust fan, as is our very good friend Bob Hurd. Good to see you, man. He says Alpha is a brutally heavy record. Excellent. Seven Dust always brings it. What are your thoughts on Alpha? I know you do like Seven Dust. Do you listen to this one ever? Are you kind of indifferent to it? I know it's this one polarizing in a way.
Yeah, this one never got me. There's not enough melody on this one.
Okay.
And especially like with what comes later with was it Cold Day Memory? Yeah. Which I absolutely it's just swimming in melody. So
yeah.
And then like Home, I think is obviously, Seasons are great. So yeah, this one never, I skip right over this one, unfortunately.
Okay. All right. So what album do you not skip over? Meaning, what is next on your list?
All right, I'm probably going to get crushed for this one. I am going to put what I think was the last decent Ozzy album, and that's Black Rain. Now, Black Rain has a lot of highs, and there's definitely some lows too. But this is the return of Zakk Wylde and the last album he did, I believe, as well. Never Gonna Stop is great. 11 Silver, really cool. Civilize the Universe is great. Title track, decent enough. The Almighty Dollar, that's when it gets a little, it's almost like techno-y 9 Inch Nails behind the whining madman, I guess we'll call him, right? So,
is this the album that has Let Me Hear You Scream on it? Is that
no, that's a different one.
Okay.
Here For You is absolutely the most atrocious ballad Ozzy's ever done. He's done some pretty bad ones. But it's followed up with Countdown's Begun, which if you hear the riff, you'd think it was on a Black Label Society. It's just like your typical Zach. It's like a sludge fest, right?
Right.
And then you end up with a pretty decent upbeat rocker with Trapdoor. But I don't know. There's just really tight production on this. None of the songs are super long or anything. And Zach just kind of comes in and does what he does best. And without him, this album would probably be, I wouldn't even give it a second thought. But I don't know. It's one of those where I remember when it first came out and I kind of liked it and I sort of went away from it. And then I sort of recently came back to it again because I believe on the A to Z podcast, they were talking about the two Bob's A to Z podcast. They were talking about this album. And they were going through the entire Ozzy catalog. And I was like, I remember the Black Rain. So I went back and listened to it again. And there's probably 6 or 7 of the songs I really, really like. And there's 3 that are pretty rough.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know. I agree with you that this is the last good Ozzy record. I mean, I don't hate it. This one is kind of like, parts of it are kind of like, if Zach was kind of writing,
Aiken.
Yeah, Chris Aiken says, I thought your mic was muffled, Brian. Clearly it's your headphones. Black Rain is horrible. Down to Earth ended it for Ozzy.
I knew he was going to crush me on that, so I did it just so you could get some good lines off, Chris.
Dude, I mean, it kind of sounds in spots like Zach was writing Black Label tunes and just happened to get Ozzy to sing on it. I mean, it's all right. I don't know. To me, like, honestly, the last Ozzy record that I got into, like, pretty much all the way through, and even that one I didn't get. There was a few songs on side 2 I wasn't a big fan of. Was No More Tears. I think after No More Tears, it was kind of like you really had hit and miss tunes on each record, little too extremely, I want to say. But I mean, Zach Wilde always makes something cool. I mean, it's his guitar playing does not disappoint. So I mean, it's okay. I don't hate it. Let's see, what do we got in the chat here? There's a couple that I know you'll have, so I'm not going to bring those up yet. Luke has spoken. You might have this one. Good to see you, brother. He says, I know you're not a fan, but I got to go with the Avenged Sevenfold's self-titled album. Catchy and experimental songs and a great showcase of Jimmy the Rev Sullivan's talent as a drummer, singer, songwriter. All right. Cale McLeish, Queens of the Stone Age, Era Vulgaris. Admittedly, I'm only here for the single 3s and 7s, but it's not a terrible lineup of songs. No songs for the deaf, but a cool album nonetheless. I hate Queens of the Stone Age. Not a fan. This too.
Cale says Black Rain was 2006. Maybe in Australia it was, but it was 2007 here.
Yeah.
I know they use different math over there.
Yep. Let's see. Cale's also got Libertad, which I got to tell you, Velvet Revolver just kind of disappointed me. I was really hoping for more out of that band. I didn't like the combination of basically Guns N' Roses and Scott Weiland.
I thought of picking that, and then I'm like, you know what, it's all right. It just sort of was what it was. There's a couple decent songs, and yeah, I don't know that that's a good pairing. It was a good pairing.
Well, Aiken he's explaining the whole Black Label thing. See, Aiken is just a bastion of knowledge for us. He says, Zach Wilde got called in late to that project, talking about Black Rain. They had nothing, and Kevin Churko, who was the producer, took his demos for Black Label Society and made them all into overproduced fucky effect vocals Ozzy. Yeah, it's not surprising.
I can see that based on the way the songs are, but...
Yeah. Chastity Crawley. Her number 4 is Nightwish Dark Passion Play. She says, but it's with the dumb, quote unquote, new singer, so it's a hit or miss for me. Aaron Taft says he forgot about Porcupine Tree. That's a good album. Yeah, Chris Aiken, not enough drug use to make Velvet Revolver good. Yeah, and Scott Weiland was just a monumental prick. I hate that guy. He was such a complete asshole. He tried to get my band thrown off a show we opened for him. I didn't approve them, and basically thankfully the venue staff was cool enough. Like, we'd played so many shows for them in a couple of local venues over the years. They were basically like, shut up. We're not kicking a band out now. They're about to start. So he was a dick. All right, so moving on to the next one on my list. This is an album that was released on May 15th of 2007. Again, I think that, this one has a couple high spots, but no real low spots. I think, this is kind of look, I can't really call it a comeback record because the one before it was technically kind of a comeback record, but the one before it was kind of a letdown. I think this is what, to use a cliche, this would be kind of considered a return to form. But this is by Megadeth. It is United Abominations. And Sleepwalker is awesome. Washington is Next is awesome. Gears of War is really good. I'm not really a fan of re-recording songs like a couple records later, so the Tu Limon redo is like, but Burnt Ice was really cool. There's some really good stuff on this record, and again, the one before it, God, I'm drawing a blank.
The System has failed.
Yeah, System has failed. I mean, that was okay, but we know now that was supposed to be basically a Mustaine solo record, and he then just basically put it out under the Megadeth name. So, yeah, I was not the biggest fan of that. There were like 2 good songs on that one, and I was like, yeah, okay. But it was better than The World Needs a Hero, which was much better than Risk. But I feel like United Abominations was when Megadeth kind of got back to being Megadeth. I think this was really when, they started going back to like, okay, here's what we do, and we're just going to do it. So, I really like it for that reason. It's, I mean, Megadeth is one of those bands, like you kind of get, at least for me, I've kind of grown tired of them because I've heard everything a million times. But when they have a new record, it's pretty damn good. And I think this one kind of set them on the path to get them where they are now, where the last couple records have been really, really goddamn good. So, yeah, I mean, this is a good listen, I think. I mean, there's some kind of songs, but I think there's more than enough really good tunes, at least to my ear, that I actually really enjoy this one. So, do you have any thoughts about this record?
Yeah, I agree with you. It kind of set them on the path to kind of being relevant again, and sort of just embracing their metal, their metal selves, I guess is the word I'm looking for there. Really put them kind of back on the forefront. I think there's maybe about 4 really killer tunes, and the rest is mostly filler. System has failed. I remember buying that, and I saw them at the Odeon, I believe they played on that tour, and I was like, I don't know. I tried to like that album, and there's like you said, there's 2 good songs, maybe 2 good songs on that one, and maybe 4 to 5 solid ones on United Abominations. I don't hate it. I just think the stuff that came later is like a lot better. Like Endgame is amazing.
Yeah,
that was after, right?
Yeah,
the next one. Okay, yeah, Endgame was great, and the last few have been really good.
Yeah, I mean, what the hell, the sick, the dying, and the dead. I that one doesn't really have anything crazy memorable, but it's such a thrash record. I love it. The production's awesome. Like, I love that. Endgame was really good. That had some really cool stuff on there. I'm trying to.
What was the other one? Dystopia.
Yeah, that one was decent. Really good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's nice to like hear them getting back to like sounding like Megadeth. I mean, because Cryptic Writings, people like it, but I don't know. The production really sucked on that album, and it was a little too commercial for my taste. And then, of course, Risk was just a huge bag of shit. And The World Needs a Hero, I mean, it was okay. That one I think was tolerable just because you weren't getting Risk again. So it was, All right, so Bob Hurd says, no one has mentioned the best record of 2007 so far. Hope someone does. Brian will show his Halo. They won't be slanderous and show their aesthetics of hate. So if you know what those song titles are, is that record on your list?
Bob must have broke into my notes here, too. It's actually my next one on my list.
All right. Go for it.
Yeah, we were talking about Machine Head's 2007, The Blackening. I don't know how much of a Machine Head fan you are, but I kind of liked them a little bit. And then when they went to this new period, Bob's like, you got to check out The Blackening. They started this kind of like this 3 album in a row of The Blackening, and then to Unto the Locust, and then Bloodstone and Diamonds, where, man, I just think we talk about progressive metal, and Dream Theater. I think Dream Theater is just sort of progressive music in general. It's progressive heavy rock, maybe. True progressive metal to me is what Machine Head is able to do on these next 3 albums. The guitar playing, the writing, it's the most mature, in-depth stuff. You've got some 8, 9, 10-minute songs with just great breakdowns, great clean, stuff on guitar. The dynamics are all over the place. The opener, Clenching Fists, it starts with a mellow classical guitar opening, kind of like Battery. It doesn't sound like Battery,
Yeah.
but then you get this really cool, sweet marching pattern. Then it's just a full-blown metal assault. He was talking about Halo. That's one of the biggest metal courses I think I've ever heard. There's a great circular guitar pattern that goes in there, culminating in one of the greatest guitar harmony solos I think that's ever been on record. Phil and Rob they're just a machine. I mean, it's just guitar. It's metal guitar 101 and how to use 2 guitars. It's so complimentary on everything. The last song, Farewell to Arms, super haunting intro, and then you got this huge descending chugging riff that comes in. And these guys, I don't know, man. They're just never not playing, and it's never like out of place. It's very tasteful, and there's just so many guitar harmonies. It's just the stuff that I beg and plead that Iron Maiden, please do. And these guys, they're just masters at it on this entire album, and it's so freaking heavy, and it's so deep, and there's nothing bad on this album at all. I mean, this is one of the more underrated, I think, underappreciated albums, and just doesn't get talked about enough.
This one was on my almost made it list. This is an excellent record for Machine Head. It's funny you mentioned Battery, considering, that was this is the one where they had the cover as a bonus track of Battery, which is just awesome. But I think the one problem that I do have though with Machine Head's more recent stuff is kind of like the problem that I have with Iron Maiden's recent stuff. Like, they have these really long songs, and I don't think they need to be really long. Like Dream Theater, that's their thing. It's progressive. It goes all over the place. I think that, you could trim some fat off of some of the Machine Head stuff as well as some of the Iron Maiden stuff. That being said, it is awesome. They're another band that has great production. So, I mean, it is heavy as balls. And yeah, I'm with you that 3-album run is just excellent. And Aiken has an interesting comment in here. He says, "How did I forget this one? Machine Head's Master of Puppets moment. So far ahead of anything in their catalog. It's sad that Rob keeps trend jumping. Excuse me. It stopped him from being one of the top bands ever." Yeah, I mean, I would agree with that, Aiken, because stuff like this record, and I mean, when he just really gets into being absolutely fucking metal as hell, I mean, they're excellent at it. I mean, I had the debut album on my list for 94 as one of my top records. That album just slams, dude. 10 Ton Hammer is awesome. So yeah, I think I would agree with you on that one.
Well, I think they got back to that though on the last one. It was the one before that Catharsis, where every song was like 3 minutes, and it was like that was terrible. I don't know what the hell they were doing. Awful, it was so bad, and then I was like, wait, what happened here? But the newest album, man, there was great stuff on that one. The Kingdom and Crowns or whatever the hell it was called.
Yeah,
there was a couple of 8.5 minutes, and I mean, I'm gonna pick. I'll disagree with you on the Maiden stuff for sure. I think it needs to trim fat, but the way that the guitar parts are able to weave in and out of there, I don't see a lot of fat on those, man. Honestly, I just think they're just so well crafted and composed.
Yep, totally agree. Aiken's wrong on one thing. He says, take out Catharsis, Burning Red, and Supercharger, and there's no better catalog in history. None. Yes, there is. Van Halen's. Don't even try it. All right, so I'm going to get murdered. This is one of a couple on my list that are absolutely going to get me crucified. But in my defense, I have mentioned this band on previous episodes, and we've done these episodes. So this is not a surprise, but it's kind of a guilty pleasure band, I suppose. This year was very difficult to find a full list of albums. So this one I think has some crap songs, but there's a good 5 or 6 that I really, really like. And it's one of those bands when, I've been playing all weekend with Brother Believe Me, and I'm on the way home at 2:00 in the morning on Saturday night, and the CMS is about to end, and I just want to hear something mellow and kind of relax. And this is a band I tend to listen to. I have. It is released on, let me see the date here, June 18th of 2007. It's a record called Who We Are by Lifehouse. So go ahead and hit me with all the snakes and arrows you got. See what I did there. But yeah, I mean, it's to me, there's just some really, really great songs on here that I really, really enjoy. The first like 4 songs are the first 5 songs I really, really like. It's kind of like a dead spot in the middle, and then near at the end there's a song called Storm that's really cool. And yeah, I absolutely just really, really enjoy this record. Again, there's kind of a dead spot in the middle, but it's it's just mellow pop, and it's great. It's kind of like an antidote to all the pretty heavy shit that I listen to otherwise. Doug McCauley. That's a you problem, John. Nice. Oh, Giovanni. He says, I got you beat, Chastity. Bruce Springsteen, Magic. Oh, I hate Bruce Springsteen. Dude, I don't know where you stand on that kind of stuff, Brian. I just hate that generic, like, semi-clean, semi-distorted guitar channel, like Americana shit. Like fucking John Cougar Mellencamp and Bruce Springsteen. It's
It depends on the song and the singer. I've never been a Springsteen fan, but I've learned to appreciate especially like the piano and the keyboard stuff. But that's like kind of his really older stuff. But yeah, I mean, some of that stuff is kind of rough. Somebody in there they can picture you playing this and then doing like a hair flip throughout with your hairstyle the way it is now. That's a weird comment for someone to say.
Asshole.
So somebody brought up Snakes and Arrows, and 2007 was a rough year for bands. It was a really rough year for Rush, man, music-wise. Shameless plug once again for the Two Bobs cast, our Rush episode. Snakes and Arrows was way, way down there at the bottom, so...
Was it?
Yeah, and you're not a big Rush fan, so you probably don't know that is just not a great album.
I'm aware, and it's not that I'm not like a big Rush fan. It's just that like I like some of it. I love Moving Pictures, that says nothing because pretty much everybody does. That's like the most generic comment ever. But that's the one record that I've tried to listen to most of it. You
would hate the newer stuff. I think. Well, I say newer. It's 17 years ago already.
Yeah.
But no, you know what? Lifehouse isn't bad. I can see that, man. I'm kind of the same way with bands like I don't know, Lit. They're a little bit heavier, but I'm like you. I need something. Toad the Wet Sprocket, I guess, would be my band for that. Yeah. I like me some mellow Toad. After I've been bashing my head all night playing with the cover band or whatever.
Yeah, I just can't I can't get in the car after being having my in-ear monitors in for 4 hours and being up in everybody's face for it's basically like how it is. It's like a 6 or 7 hour period where you're just like on 11, and I just can't get in the car and be like, all right, I'm listening to the fucking Blackening, let's go. No, it's like Lifehouse, Vertical Horizon. I have an acoustic playlist of like songs that I like by my favorite artists, but they redid it in an acoustic version. Audiobooks. I listen to Aiken's show, not to kiss his ass, but
quick story on that, because he actually listens to and downloads the show. His name's Metal Pete. He's been on here a few times watching us. But I was in him with an old band, and we played kind of the same similar stuff we're playing now, 90s grunge and heavy stuff and whatever. Mm-hmm. And he was always banging his head. And at the end of the night, he's playing this, I think it was called Brainstorm. It's like German metal band. At the end of the night, he's loading up his car, and our guitar player comes over. It's like, haven't you had enough metal for the night? He's got this stuff, just like he says, like cranked up to the speakers are like blasting, and he's climbing in, gonna go, go home on his drive and listen to Brainstorm. And I'm like, man, I can't do it either. I was like, I need something to chill out to.
That's funny, man. So Aiken has kind of a small discussion going. He says, what's worse, Snakes and Arrows or Vapor Trails? And by the way, Doug also says to me, he says, how can you not like Rush? They're a prerequisite for Dream Theater. Not for me, man. But But Bob Hurd says Vapor Trails is worse in my opinion. The sound was so bad they had to remix it to make it sound tolerable. I read that. Doug says great tracks on Vapor Trails. Too bad the quality is trash. Love the songs.
Yeah, I had Vapor Trails ranked ahead. I think there's a couple okay songs on there, and Snakes and Arrows is just it's pretty rough, man.
Aaron Taft, good to see you, man. He says at least on Snakes and Arrows, Alex started playing more solos. Where did you have Test for Echo ranked?
I actually had it higher than I thought after revisiting it. I think it was 6. So we ranked the first 9, then we ranked the last 10.
Okay.
But those last 4 or 5 albums, those just
yeah.
So okay. Here's a quick topic for you. Well, I can't use you in this example because you're not going to be honest. So we were trying to come up with a band where you're in there from the ground floor basically, or as close to the ground floor as you can. Their entire catalog. There's no album where you're like, this album sucks. But you're going to say Van Halen, obviously, and Dream Theater.
But I mean, but
you got 2, right?
I can't say that I was in from the ground up, though.
Well, that's more of an age thing, though. You can't help that.
Yeah, and I mean, there's no Van Halen records I dislike, but I mean, it is my favorite band. And I listen to him a little differently than other people. I just love listening to Eddie play guitar. I'm trying to think of a band that.
Like the legit only one I could come up with for me was Alter Bridge, because I got in on the ground floor and I like every album. And I'm not saying every album is absolutely amazing. Oh my God, I've never heard this before. It's so original. I'm not saying that. I'm saying if the album's playing, I will go ahead and let it play and be fine and jam along to it. That's kind of my criteria here.
Honestly, for me, the only one I can really think of that I got in on the ground floor and I can't look at a single record and go, yeah, this is 100% trash, is Seven Dust, because I did get into them on the first record.
All right.
I liked it. I became a big fan on Animosity, the third record. So, but yeah, I've listened to them since the first album. So I think they would be an example. Everything else that I'm really, really into is, before my time. Like, obviously I can't say Mammoth WVH because it's 2 damn albums. So like we can,
right.
Sons of Apollo, same thing. Like, I mean, that doesn't count, like, 2 albums and a live record. Like,
yeah, you need like 15. Like Seven Dust is a good example. That's an interesting one to pick. I just was curious. So Chris Aiken says Overkill. There you go.
Dude, that is a band. I don't know why I cannot get into them. I try to listen, like, man, why is this band so hyped? It sounds. God, I'm gonna get crushed for this, but it sounds to me like if you went to an Anthrax show and Testament was main support, and then they got a local metal band to be like, the first of the 3 bands, and that's what Overkill sounds like to me.
Well, it's not as technical. That's for sure. It's more about sort of the raw energy and the power and the dynamics and the feel of it. I understand what you're saying. I think Overkill is a really good band, but my God, they've had how many albums? Aiken, 12, 15? Probably got to be over. Probably over 15 at this point.
Aiken says, well, "How about Black Label Society? Not saying every album is brilliant, but there's really no bad ones."
Yeah, I mean, this is subjective. I'm just trying to figure out who they would pick, But
yeah, I think with Black Label, I think that one is difficult for me, Aiken, because there's a couple records that border on really bad, like that. I just am like, man, I really don't like any of this. So, that's close though, because there's something redeeming on each of those albums. But speaking of redeeming. Material on albums, the next one on my list was released on July 10th of 2007, and I think Chastity Crawley is going to enjoy this next choice of mine. And this basically, the writer of this album kind of took cues from one of the greatest songwriters of our generation, or composers, should I say. The composer of this album took a lot of cues from John Williams for obvious reasons, because John Williams wrote the soundtrack for the first 2 movies in this series, and this one is the 5th one in the series. It is the soundtrack to Harry Potter and the Order of the Phoenix.
Get out of here.
I do. Oh, it gets weirder, dude. Believe me. Aiken actually said it up in the chat. He said, I think the theme here is that 2007 was so bad that you had to name albums where each of you openly have to shit on half of each pick. Yeah, it's difficult. But yeah, dude, I'm a soundtrack guy. And this is, the Harry Potter soundtracks are great to listen to. I don't have a lot to say because it is just a symphonic score, but there's a lot of John Williams type things in here. They're building off of the themes in the first two movies, and it's just if you're working and you want something to listen to not just be dialed in 100% on what you're doing, if you're doing some mind-numbing data entry or something, that's when I turn to soundtracks. And a Harry Potter soundtrack is always good to me. So not my favorite book or movie, but I love the soundtrack, so that's that's the next one on my list. So, Aiken, what's your next pick, John? Soundtrack from Blue's Clues? Oh no, I've got some better shit. So, all right. So, what is next on your list, and how many do you have left? You only have like one or two, don't you?
Yeah, like 3, I think.
Okay.
All right. What do I got here next? Okay, 2007 was some people think this was a down year for this band, but Vomitory, Terrorize, Brutalize, and Sodomize,
Shut the fuck
also known as Saturday Night at John Drake's House. One of my favorite albums of all time.
Shut up.
Can you imagine your kid comes home from like, oh, my kid's a metalhead. What band's he into? Vomitory. Like, that would just make me sick if I found out my kid was into Vomitory. Let's see. I got 3 left. So this one's for sure going to be. This is probably going to be our only. This is going to be our only crossover.
Okay.
The mighty and by far the best production, best overall sound, best performances, best songwriting of this band's entire career.
Should we say it together?
Symphony X, Paradise Lost.
Yep.
You know the crime here? We have only had 3 albums since this freaking thing came out in 2007.
So does that mean they had one in 2007 and 2 others since? Or are you talking 3 albums?
They've had 2 since. So we've been waiting since 2015 on the last one. We're 10 freaking years in now for Underworld.
Dude, that's the weird thing about that is like the way that the recording industry is anymore, where bands can basically do it in their basement and still make it sound like Andy Sneap was sitting right there with them. Like it's amazing to me that they haven't been able to, get into it and find a way to put something out. I mean, the audience is still there. I mean, they don't have to tour if they don't want to. People would love new music from Symphony X, and especially with Dream Theater kind of having a little bit of a I hate to say resurgence, but the Portnoy thing has generated some, brought some old school fans back. Like, they'd have a spot on a tour. If they put out a new record or something, Portnoy would be like, hey guys, you want to go on tour? Like,
Yeah, well, Romeo did have those 2 World of Worlds, part 1 and 2, which I think are amazing
those are good.
Underappreciated albums, where he brought in some different singers. But so Aiken says he's got like 8 albums for the Land Allen stuff, which I don't know. The Adrenaline Mob, we've kind of given our thoughts on that.
Yeah, not good.
He does the TSO every year. I forgot about that. That's a quarter of his year off the bat right there. Yeah, he said that. Yep. But yeah, man, Paradise Lost. I mean, I think the greatest opening for any metal album of all time, the symphonic opener of the Oculus X Inferni with the full orchestration behind it, man, it just gives me chills every time I hear that damn thing. I mean, that's like, I don't know why like every like NFL team in the world doesn't come out with like that, running out to the tunnel to that thing. It's so freaking cool, man. Or like an NHL team or something, or a boxer, or a wrestler, whoever. And then you go right into that killer riff, Set the World on Fire, Lie of Lies. Serpent's Kiss is amazing. Paradise Lost, I think, is what I have in my notes here. Title track. I mean, one of the most breathtaking vocal performances in the history of Russell Allen. Great, incredible piano playing on that. Maybe the second best is The Sacrifice. I mean, another haunting piano-driven ballad. Just enough orchestration in there. I don't know what they did. This was, I think, the major label debut for them when they'd switch labels, I believe. And if it wasn't, it sure sounds like it. I mean, everything on here is super crisp and clean. I don't know who the producer was, but it has that Andy Snip, super bright, in your face production to it.
Right.
Even if it wasn't him. But yeah, Walls of Babylon, man, that's an incredible song too. 60 minutes in length. It's not too long. 10 songs. It's just perfect, man. There's not a bad song, note, lyric on this album. It's a metal masterpiece, man.
That's one that you turned me on to, actually. Back, man, when we first started working together at CVS way back when. I think it was probably around the time when it came out, actually. And yeah, this is definitely, I would agree with you, their best record. We did the whole, we dove into the entire catalog with discography discussion. Yep. And yeah, this is, I completely agree with you. Best production, best songs. I mean, personally, I think you can never go wrong with Russell Allen as a vocalist. I love that guy's voice. Yeah, and Aiken says, what's shocking to me is that John doesn't worship Symphony X. It's Dream Theater meets Metallica, for fuck's sake. Yeah, I don't know, man. Like, for me, it's not. I don't know. Symphony X is just one of those bands that, for some reason, just never. I don't know. There's just something about them that never grabbed me. I think because it's a little bit too symphonic metal, power metal. I guess you'd say that, because I like some of that stuff, but I can't just sit there and listen to it all the time. So I think for that reason, that's why. So for me, I mean, I really like this record. Don't get me wrong, but
Well, I could tell you why. It's not Van Halen, and it's not Dream Theater.
Oh, shut up! You know what? Fuck this. Never mind. I should never have taken myself out of solo. Never mind. Brian and his overbearing microphone. I'll just finish my list. So, anyways, all right. So next on my list, this one is another one I think we would both have on our list because you've talked about this record. One of Chris Aiken's all-time favorite people, but a very interesting read, and this is the soundtrack to that very interesting read. It was released on August 21st of 2007. It is the Heroin Diaries soundtrack by 6 a.m. Do you have this on your list?
I do not. It didn't come up when I did my search, and that's if I can't find it.
I'm just going to send you, from now on, I'm sending you the website that I use, because every time you miss these records, like, it wasn't on my list. Like, what are you looking up? Like, top 10 records of the year, and going, well, crap, I can only list 8 of these. Like,
no, I put top 9 in. I didn't want to have to look at a bunch of extra ones.
Oh man, yeah, not too much to say about this one. I mean, again, it's a good listen in totality, and I think there's no really bad songs, and there's a couple really great songs. But I think what I like about it is how it's. I'm one of those people that with a project like this, I kind of take it in totality. So I think the book, and regardless of whether or not, there's a lot of truth in it. There's a lot of people, especially Aiken, that think a lot of it's fabricated and bullshit. I tend to kind of fall in the middle there. If you're all whacked out on heroin, I don't see how you're just keeping all these detailed notes all the time. But that being said, I mean, the book is a very interesting read to me, and I think the music kind of follows the vibe of it. So to me, they kind of go hand in hand, and I like that. I think that's pretty cool. So for me, I like it for that reason. So this is a record I put on here and there, and it's a very interesting listen. And I tend to I'll listen to the audiobook for a while, and then I'll put on a couple of the songs in the soundtrack, and then just kind of do it that way. So I kind of do them both at the same time. So I really do enjoy that. So JG3 checking in. So how are you guys doing? Good to see you, man. Good to see you. Robert Myers, thanks for tuning in. Says, I always seem to have band practice on the live feed. Well, look, man, it's every other Thursday, except for the next one, which is on a Friday. So look at Chris Aiken. Nikki Sixx is a lying twat. The lone junkie with detailed usage. Detailed usage and notes. Fraud bitch. Nice. Oh my god. All right. So what is next on your list?
Quick comment on Heroin Diaries. Yeah, I totally, completely, 100% forgot about that album. Yeah, good record, man. It's cool stuff on there. Whether or not it's fabricated, I mean, as far as the book goes, who cares? I mean, I think the album is cool as far as like a story, you know.
Yeah.
All right, next on my list is you knew this one was coming. Alter Bridge.
Yep.
Blackbird. I don't really know a whole lot what to say about this. It was their second album. Starts out super heavy, ties that bind, come to life is great. Everything's good. I mean, the title song I think is one of the cooler. It's almost borders on classic rock. There's a bit of a, I don't know, almost like a Metal Eagles feeling to it or something to me. It's just real haunting kind of a song. Blackbird. Watch Over You. I think you actually like that song. That's one Miles plays. He plays that all the time when he does his solo gigs, for the most part.
Definitely like that song.
Yeah, beautiful vocal performance and.
Alrighty, is that me freezing or is that Brian freezing? Uh-oh. Who froze?
Little more singing on this one as opposed to for me. I saw the screen freezing for both of us, so it must be me. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I got you.
Okay. Yeah, I was doing the yeah, I mean, I think it's a little bit grown up. The songs are a little bit more intricate. I think the last album, some of the stuff was riffs that are kind of been left over from the Creed days, and this was all sort of started fresh from scratch, with Miles having a lot of input on the songs and guitar parts and everything else. And yeah, not a bad tune on this one as far as I'm concerned. They still play most of these songs live. Blackbird, Watch Over You, they always play that one. Come to Life pretty much every time. Rise Today also we talked about. But yeah, if you're an Alter Bridge fan, or even if you're not, this is probably a good place to start.
So is this considered their strongest album?
No, I think generally speaking, most people think Fortress, which is actually the fourth album. That's kind of that's one that has Cry of Achilles on it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I said, I'm not overly familiar. When Alter Bridge headlined here in Cleveland 2 summers ago, and it was Seven Dust and Mammoth WVH opening. I beat traffic. I saw Mammoth WVH and Seven Dust, and then took off and didn't see Alter Bridge. Didn't see Alter Bridge.
Yeah, you were not in the minority. There was I don't know. It was pretty thin there by the end of the night, and I sort of felt bad for those guys, but they still had a decent turnout. But yeah, there was a lot of people that left that were not there to see Alter Bridge, which it floors me that band is just. I don't get why that band is not. I don't know, something along the level of like a Disturbed. Like, I don't know why they're not that big. At least, you know what I mean. I don't get it.
I mean, I don't know if this really matters, but like. Everybody that I know who's a fan of that band has said that they are just like ungodly boring live. Like really nothing going on, boring. And I don't know if that has something to do with it. Like, I mean, because I know like a lot of people that I know that love Seven Dust, one of the first comments is, holy shit, they're amazing. They're amazing live. So
yeah, but they also go out there for about 50 minutes most nights, or 45. Alter Bridge is playing damn near 2-hour shows.
Yeah, but I mean,
it's a totally different style of music too.
All right, I'll give you that. I'll give you that. Chastity Crawley says, "I can't hear a song called Blackbird and not think of Blackbird by the Beatles." Yeah, is this the point where I tell everybody that I couldn't name a single Beatles song if I heard it? Yeah, no, I don't know. Speaking of bands I never got, not quite as badly as the Rolling Stones, but. I just that's a band I'm like, what the fuck is the point? Anyway, I will say that there is a very good point in the next record that I'm going to bring up. I actually have two more. My Almost Made It list. You've already had 2 on your list. I have Symphony X and Machine Head on my Almost Made It list. This next album that I have was released on October 30th of 2007, and it's kind of all over the map. But it's I think it's got some really strong stuff on it. It's got some great songs like "Take My Hand." It's got "A Life Without You," which is excellent. "Guilty as Charged." Man, "You Got to Love Your Man," and it's obviously got the big hit on it. I'm of course talking about the Dewey Cox Story, "Walk Hard" soundtrack.
Nice.
I had to because that movie is so damn funny and no one ever talks about it. That movie is just awesome. It's so underrated. And as soon as I saw that, I was like, oh, hell yeah. So, and I, this was one of the ones like, do I put the Superbad soundtrack on there? And when I started looking at all the songs on the Walk Hard soundtrack, I was like, oh man, I forgot how great all those original songs are. So, yeah, not much to say because it is a movie soundtrack and it's mostly a goof. It is all goof, but if you've never seen Walk Hard, the Dewey Cox Story, you got to watch it. It's basically a riff on Walk the Line, the Johnny Cash movie, but it's it's so stupid. It's just awesome. So look at Chastity Crawley. So we need to put a soundtrack limit on John's lists. Look, Chastity, we've been over this. This is a shit year.
Yeah.
And look, it counts. It's an album that came out. I mean, besides, remember what we're talking about here. You walk into the record store and you're like, I want the Dream Theater record. And they're like, no, you can't have that. So I'm like, well, goddamn, now I got to buy something else. And this would be something I would probably buy.
I mean, full disclosure, I don't think people realize how difficult this is for you because there's no Van Halen album this year and you can't use Dream Theater. So when do these episodes, you're like crapping your pants every time trying to come up with a list.
You know what?
Be honest.
You make fun of me. You make fun of me for this, but it must be hard for you to come up with a joke to rip on me that doesn't involve saying you like Dream Theater and Van Halen because you fall back on that. So come on now, like
I'm just saying.
You're doing the same thing.
No, I'm not.
Nice. All right. So next on I only have one more. So what do you have next on your list?
I only have one too.
Okay. What is the last one on your list?
My last one on my list comes from a young fellow who cut his teeth, so to say, in the salt mines of the Cleveland club scene. One Mr. Trent Reznor. 9 Inch Nails, John's favorite band, with Year Zero. I also think it's the last really, really, really amazing 9 Inch Nails album. And there's a new 9 Inch Nails album coming out, so I'm interested to see how that's going to be while John takes a whiz.
I'm not taking a whiz. I just have nothing to say. I want nothing to do with this band.
Yeah, I mean, this is great. It's a concept record. Really, it's all about politics and the government taking over and everything, and they poison the water for people. There was supposed to be, at some point, there were talks of an actual mini-series, I believe, or a series that was going to be on HBO. I don't know. I guess think Walking Dead meets I don't know what. But with just complete political unrest and, apocalyptical themes. Yeah, Capital G, great song. My Violent Heart's amazing. God Given, love the groove on that one. Probably one of my top 5 Nine Inch Nails songs of all time is on here. In This Twilight, love that song. And yeah, something that John wants absolutely nothing to do with. And we won't be talking Nine Inch Nails or going to the concert together, but I probably will be going to the concert in August with one of the Bobs. So.
You can always jump on the show yourself and do like immediate reacts. I've done it to the Pantera show and Dream Theater. Like,
yeah,
just set it up. I'll teach you how to do it.
All right, how do we ban Aiken? He's really going to shit on Year Zero. Come on, man. Come on, dude.
He's probably just shitting on it because it's 9 Inch Nails.
Yeah, probably.
Sorry. I don't know, man. I just like Trent Reznor is one of those guys like I have the utmost respect for because he's just so ungodly good at what he does and like so talented. And, obviously he's a Cleveland guy. So we always, Clevelanders are always, yeah, it's from my town. We're that kind of type of people. I don't like industrial stuff.
Aiken says he likes 9 Inch Nails, but how doesn't like Year Zero? Good God, I don't know.
I don't know. I do know something that Aiken does like. I'm wondering if he'll like My Last Choice more than he liked Year Zero. This is an artist who everyone knows, but they don't know his solo work. And I think that's because it's spotty at best, except to me for this album, which is absolutely fucking great. And I would highly recommend this record if you're into heavy stuff and this guy's voice. This features a whole bunch of really kick-ass heavy stuff. There's an awesome cover of Back in the Saddle by Aerosmith with none other than Axl Rose. There is a really heavy song called Stuck Inside, again with a special guest appearance by Axl Rose, where this guy does just a hellacious, like, unison scream in the middle of the song that's just phenomenal. American Metalhead. It's got a great ballad called Falling Into You. Love is a Bitch Slap. This is one of Sebastian Bach's first solo records. It was released on November 20th of 2007. It's called Angel Down, and absolutely kick-ass record. Yeah, it's really heavy. Like it's weird. Like I listened to his solo stuff after I listened to his audiobook, and because I realized, man, I've never listened to the Sebastian Bach solo stuff, and like I say, it's pretty spotty, at least to me, but this record's great. So again, it's called Angel Down. The Aerosmith cover is killer. That song Stuck Inside is just like heavy. The guitar player on this album actually is Satchel from Steel Panther. Russ, I'm drawing a blank on the guy's name. Russ, son of a bitch. Who is it's Russ something or other. Who is Satchel in Steel Panther? I can't believe I'm forgetting this. He was in Fight and everything. Russ Parrish. There we go. So yeah, Russ Parrish is the guitar player. Aiken says it. He says Angel Down is more Skid Row than Skid Row ever was after him. Yeah, that's man, oh man. Doug McCauley. There's nothing special about a guest visit from Axl Rose. Dude, I'm telling you. Okay, so Aiken does like Angel Down better than Year Zero. There you go. Doug, I'm telling you, the stuff that Axl Rose does on this Sebastian Bach record is fucking awesome. The scream that those two do in that Stuck Inside song, you're like, what the hell? I mean, it is like stratospheric. So if you guys like I would say it's like Slave to the Grind, but heavier. And I think a little more focused in terms of the songwriting. Slave to the Grind to me sounded like it needed to be whittled down a little bit. But yeah, Angel Down is just a great record. So are you familiar with that record at all, Brian, or any of his solo stuff?
I've heard of a couple from that one. I heard a couple from the new one that I really liked. The thing about the new one I couldn't stand was the album cover was so
oh god, isn't it bad?
So horrific. The music was okay, but yeah, I mean, in a million years I would not have picked you to have a Sebastian Bach on here. I can see Aiken, but I didn't know you were. So I'm interested to maybe go revisit this one and check it out.
Yeah, I mean, to me, it's like, it's really the only, like, it's just the only solid solo release of his. I mean, it just isn't great, and or none of them are great, I should say. But this one is kick ass, man.
What does he have? Like 4, 3?
More than that. I mean, there's
for solo ones,
screaming, yeah, kicking and screaming, Child Within the Man, Angel Down. I want to like 5 or 6, I think.
Oh, okay.
So let me see if I can bring this up here. Yeah, you got this album cover is terrible. This is just a shit album cover. It's so bad. Look at this thing. Oh my god.
Yeah.
That is terrible.
First of all, who is that supposed to be singing? That's not Sebastian Bach. Like, even when he was young, it doesn't even look like him.
Yeah, like what the hell?
And there's Napoleon Dynamite down there on the bottom running or something. I don't know. And like, what's with the head above the barn or something there? What's that? Who's that even supposed to be?
Yeah, speaking of Walk Hard, that's Dewey Cox's dead brother that he cut in half.
Okay.
Like, you got this like the cross or the Jesus-y looking thing, and
I don't know, man.
What is? This is just. Can you imagine like actually seeing this and going, "Yeah, that's cool. I want that to be the album cover." Like, yeah. I mean,
it almost looks like the cover of like a. if you just took the car, like the cover of like a model, like a model kit when you were a kid or something, I don't know, or like some kind of a board game that's where you're going to be a metal singer or something. I don't know what the hell.
Aiken says it's probably more crap art from his dad. Same as the crap art on Slave to the Grind.
I don't remember the cover from Slave to the Grind being this bad, though. I mean, there's no way.
That's the dude from the movie Mask.
I think it is.
Nice. All right.
It is a painting by his father.
Giovanni Pelaia, thank you. He's confirming that's a painting done by his father. But it's fun.
So his dad's the guy who was from the movie Mask.
Oh my god! And see, I love your interpretation of the kid in the lower right hand corner. Me, I saw it and I was like, "Is that a young Roddy Piper?"
Yeah.
Aiken, who is that singing? Christy McNichol? Oh my god, this is so bad. For all you people that are listening to the audio version of the show, we're looking at the album cover for Sebastian Bach's most recent solo record, Child Within the Man, which, by the way, even the album title sucks.
Oh yeah.
I mean, Sebastian, say what you want, he's cool and everything. It's like he's still super metalhead guy, but that's a terrible album.
I mean, it's not as great as The Gang's All Here.
Well, that's true.
I was like, what? I mean, from the get go of that album, it's like, what are you doing? What are we doing here? I don't understand.
Yeah. I mean, actually, Aiken said, to your point, he actually does only have 4 solo records. And he's got
one's a live one, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, the first one, Bring 'Em Back Alive in '99, Angel Down 2007, Kicking and Screaming is 2011, Give 'Em Hell is 2014, and Child Within the Man was last year. Wow.
If Andre, if a 13-year-old Andre Agassi was a rock singer instead of a tennis player, that's what he would look like. Right. This is what he's going to sing between sets at the U.S. Open.
Right. Chastity Crawley. Why is there a child in that man? Did he eat the kid?
Oh,
Aaron Taft. Never thought I'd see a Christy McNichol reference on a Dream Theater show.
Yeah, that was awesome, man.
Oh my God!
There's only like 4 people that got that reference anyway, maybe 5.
It's like I get it, like your dad's the artist and stuff, but I mean, dude.
So if your dad paints that and puts it up and gives it to you as a present, hangs up in your wall, that's awesome, man. You're like, oh, my dad made this, but for your album cover, no, man, come on, just no.
Oh, Dad, this is amazing. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. Hey, I was thinking you could use this on the cover of your new record. Oh, shit. Giovanni Pelaia. You know how we've all bought albums because the artwork was cool? This was not one of them. Yes. Aiken, did his dad also paint the dogs playing cards? Oh, that's fabulous, man. Oh.
I'd be like, what do you want me to do with this album, mother trucker?
I will say that I will say that his get this off the screen. Wow. I will say that, like, if you like the guy at all, or if you're interested in musician autobiographies, like, his book is really good, and he actually reads the audiobook, which does kind of give it a pretty interesting kind of flair. Like, I'm always a big fan of when the author reads their own stuff, especially if it's like a biography. And it definitely is. It's kind of funny because he's in character at the start of chapters, and then by the end of the chapter he's not. So it's like chapter 4, joining Skid Row. So there I was in New Jersey in 1986. And then by the end of the chapter, he's reading the book like a normal person would read it.
Stop it.
Oh, swear to God. I swear to God, man. It's total truth. Total truth.
He should do, like, if Noah Jones or Coldplay does a biography, have Sebastian Bach read that too. Make it a lot more interesting.
The autobiography of Coldplay, written by John Joseph, read for you by Sebastian Bach, mother trucker. That would just be amazing. Or like read some historical biography that's like the most heinous thing ever. Like, hour by hour event of 9/11 by John Josephson, read for you by Sebastian Bach, mother truckers.
The Holocaust. That Hitler was a bad dude.
The Diary of Anne Frank, read for you.
God. Okay, this is gonna be one of our worst podcasts ever, which is pretty. That's a saying something.
Oh, it's so bad. Oh, all right, man.
Lord.
Well, on that note, why don't we Hagen. And that's how the slaves were freed. Read by Sebastian Bach, mother truckers. Oh my God. Oh my God!
I do want to say, because I've been getting a lot of texts and stuff in the chat about my background, so this is kind of my honorable mention. It's Ghostface Killer, the Big Doe Rehab, and of course features Rec Room Therapy, Paisley Darts. I know that's one of John's favorites. And Kill a Lipstick, we like that one also. And the Clothes Off, but it's got to be the Stress remix version. So, yeah, Ghostface Killer just barely made it outside. I wanted to give him a shout out. And that's it.
So one of these times we just got to bring up all the awesome band names. Yeah, I'm not bringing Jay's comment up. You never know who's going to shut you down. Oh, my God. So,
I did find one band, not even kidding. It was something like the Tony Danza something project, and it was listed under metal. So when we're off air here, we have to look that up.
So Circle J is bringing up the APG record that I've talked about on the show, This Brutal Addiction. It was released in 2007, but I couldn't remember the exact date. I know it's in June. I just couldn't remember which Saturday, so I didn't bring it up. So no self-serving,
This brutal commercial plug.
Exactly. Oh, my God. All right. So we will get out of here for another episode of Talking Into Infinity, a Dream Theater-centric podcast. Thanks to all you guys in the chat, Chris Aiken, Giovanni Palaya, Aaron Taft, Doug McCauley, Chastity, Kale, all you fantastic people, JG3, Circle J. Appreciate you guys. This was a fun one, but a difficult one. It's as we keep getting further and further into their catalog, man, this is getting to be a bitch. So, yeah, let's hope 2009 is a better one. Let's hope so. Doug McCauley, this one went off the rails a tad. Yeah, that's basically Doug. That's like kind of what we do on my other show, on my Star Wars show. That happens frequently. I was kind of surprised, kind of went a little bit Nerf Herder Council on this one here. So, but yeah, so we are normally back every other Thursday at 7:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And we are always live on Facebook, YouTube, talkingintoinfinity.com, the CMSnetwork.com, and the CMS Network Rumble page. However, the next show, guys, we are officially only 15 days away, not only from our next episode, but from the release of Parasomnia and the opening night of the U.S. leg of the 40th anniversary Dream Theater Tour. So our next show is actually going to be on Friday, February 7th at 7:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And as I mentioned earlier in the show, I'm going to put the link at the bottom of the screen that you guys can put into your browser to get on camera and give us your reactions to Parasomnia. So that is going to be a show where we want you guys to kind of drive everything and give us your opinion. Brian and I will do our deep dive down the road for Parasomnia, but that day is a day for you guys. We have been waiting, man, it's close to a year and a half at this point for new music from Dream Theater with Mike Portnoy back in the lineup, and it's finally here. So again, Friday, February 7th at 7:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and we want you guys to jump on camera and give us your release day thoughts on the new Dream Theater record, Parasomnia, unless, of course, you're actually going to be in Philly at the show, as I know JG3 will be. So, yeah, jump in there and tune in and give us your thoughts. As I said earlier, I really like it. I think you guys will too. But I do hear spots where some of the nitpicky dickheads on message boards, like Reddit type stuff or Facebook, posts in the fan groups. I mean, they're definitely going to kind of be jerk-offs about it in some respect. So it'll be interesting to get your guys' thoughts. Brian, final thoughts before we sign off for tonight.
Yeah, we only got 10 days left, like you said. I'm excited to finally hear the whole album. And did we confirm 100% they are playing this front to back?
No, and it's 15 days, by the way. Yeah, no, so to that point about playing the entire record, that is going to be, if it happens, it's going to be on the next tour. Because right now the U.S. tour is the 40th anniversary tour still. So they've said the set list isn't changing. So what you got in Europe was what you're getting here. But when they do a quote unquote proper Parasomnia tour, if you go back and watch Mike Portnoy and John Petrucci on the Coffee with Ola show on YouTube, they do reference the fact that, this record's made to be played like, front to back, and they kind of, allude to them doing that on the Parasomnia tour. So I'm wondering if that's going to be like an evening with type of format, and it's going to be like, the first set will be a greatest hits, and then the second set will be Parasomnia, and then an encore of some sort, or maybe, the Shadow Man incident will be the encore. Who knows? But yeah, I mean, I think that's a possibility, and because they kind of mentioned it themselves. So yeah, we'll see if they do that. But awesome show as always, dude. Very much looking forward to the next one. Again, on Friday, February 7th at 7:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Get your cameras and your microphones ready, guys, because we want you on screen to give us your release day thoughts on the new Dream Theater record, Parasomnia. So until next time, everybody, I'm your host, John. He is Brian. And guys, as always, Carpe Diem.